What's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to another edition of The Voice of Land. We are just back to being the voice of land here on the Big Play Network and partnered with LPV Productions. We are live and remote because of the snowstorms that are expected, and Peter and myself being more so in the snow belt. We are expecting more snow maybe than the west side where we usually record in our studio. So we figured, why not keep it safe, just like we've done with COVID? Keep it safe. We'll do things remote from our homes tonight. We are going to get into Cavs and their road trip going 5-1. Road dogs for sure. As our title says, they've been calling each other and barking at each other. They've been more dogs than the actual players that play in front of the dog pound this year. Not to take a shot at the Browns, but taking a shot at the Browns because I'm still frustrated by that season and I don't want anything to do with the NFL. We'll also talk about that. We'll be joined in our second segment by Nick Padone from the Big Play Network, just like ourselves, but also BetJack Casino. And we will also talk a little bit of Crunch Soccer. Jay is going to have his first soccer match live and in-person experience next week. So we'll kind of preview that experience, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we get into it next week. Of course, this is the Voice of Land. I'm Kevin R., one of your hosts. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, as we introduced him last week, as the permanent co-host now, always positive Jay. Jay Banky is his real name, but we will just keep calling him always positive Jay on this show. And we are also joined in the background by audio, or better known as Peter Tellep, behind a lot of proverbial glass tonight, our producer extraordinaire.
A little bit. Absolutely. We
just
are
about 20 miles of it.
20. Well, for you, yeah, it's maybe about half that or a little bit less for Peter and myself, but still a lot of proverbial glass tonight. So you'll hear Peter, you still won't see him. Even with Zoom, audio is still just an AI system that you just hear every now and again drop in to the show. We are sponsored by Vector Technical. They will get the right person in the right job the first time, and DP Construction LLC. Reach out to them by phone at 330-217-4999, 330-217-4999. If you got any concrete construction projects you're looking ahead at that you want to get scheduled now, go ahead and give them a call. You can always find us and follow us on Twitter at VTL_pod. Like us on Facebook at Voice of the Land. Catch the live show also on our YouTube channel at Voice of the Land Podcast. Make sure you like and follow Big Play across all social media platforms, along with LPV Productions. And find the audio of the show that our very own audio AI system posts and helps us post out there to Google, Spotify, and Apple during the week. But guys, we got to get things started with the Cavs and a true road dog mentality for a young team. Now, they go 5-1. Only loss is to the Warriors when Klay Thompson's coming back in their new arena. They were still loud. It was a new experience for the Cavs, and another lesson that this young team is going to have to go through, especially if they make the playoffs. They're going to come into much more hostile environments than even what they've seen playing well on the road this year. But Darius Garland is playing at a whole nother level. Last night with 27 points and 18 rebounds. The night before with over 30 points, just been balling out like an all-star. Like, he should at least get consideration in a deep guard class that is in the Eastern Conference. Jared Allen should already be an all-star, whether voted in or by the coaches. And Evan Mobley is making a case too, not just rookie of the year and being in that rookie sophomore game that they have, USA versus World now. He's making a case to be an all-star as well and being in consideration, especially with the All-Star game, the 75th anniversary of the NBA being right here in Cleveland, Ohio. Jay, I got to ask, I mean, what is it about this team? We talked last week before the Warriors game that we'd never count them out. Of course, they got kind of their doors blown off a little bit. But what is it about this team that even a game like that, it's just kind of an anomaly. It's not any sort of big chink in the chain of what they are trying to do this season.
Man, I got to give it to the coaching. That's what that is. You got these young guys, and they play defense, man. That's going to keep you in so many games. They never give up. Like last night, they were down, 18 points, Kevin?
And 18 points in the third quarter.
Yeah, they just don't give up. They never give up. They just won't say no, man. These guys are amazing right now. I'm just shocked how good they are because they're not supposed to be this good yet.
They aren't supposed to be this good yet. And it's a credit to JB Bickerstaff. It's a credit to Kobe Altman, who I've had question marks about, but of course he was dealt a difficult hand when he was given the GM job. Kyrie Irving was asking to be traded. So and he was forcing his way out of Cleveland. And that's a difficult thing to come into as a young GM, especially in an organization where, you know, Dan Gilbert was not paying general managers for a second contract. We all wanted David Griffin to stay, and they wouldn't come to an agreement. They weren't even coming close to coming to the table to talk about that. Now Kobe Altman gets, you know, other contracts, and he's even bumped up to president of basketball operations right now. Then you look at JB Bickerstaff and what he has done and the culture that he's established. This team really is what they're calling themselves. They are a bunch of dogs. Like, they can all go out there. You've seen even Lamar Stevens have big games on this road trip. It can be a different guy every single night. Lauri Markkanen hitting a big three last night as he's kind of been struggling with his shot. But when the light got brightest and they needed to close out that game, OKC cuts it to 1, and Lauri Markkanen just comes down, you know, gets the pass from Garland, and just, I mean, he was deep on the wing with that 3-point shot that he took. And guys in his face, just confidence to knock it down, because I think you gotta give even more credit than maybe some people want to Coach Bickerstaff and this coaching staff for instilling the confidence in these guys early, them seeing that they're allowed to go out there and be the basketball player that they have grown up to be, and how that fits in the system and the culture, the philosophy of what the Cavs want to be as a team every single night out there on the floor. And once the initial confidence was bred by the coaching staff, then the players get to go play. Now, like, their confidence is at an all-time high. They got to come home, you know, tomorrow for a matinee affair on Martin Luther King Jr. Day at 3:00 against the Brooklyn Nets, which probably going to be difficult. You're coming off a road trip. Usually you would see these guys, or any sort of team, you would see them have dead legs coming home. I don't know if we're going to see that, because this team just seems to buck every single trend that's out there.
I mean, just the style of play and how they're set up on their roster bucks the trend. Everything you said about confidence is so true. And I love how much, like you said, Markkanen, who wasn't shooting that well, they didn't lose confidence in him, and they gave him the shot at the end of the game to ice it, because they don't lose confidence in each other. And when you know the guy to your left and the guy to your right has got your back and believes in you, that does wonders for your game. And I love what they're just doing. Like, everyone else is playing small ball. Well, their roster has their best players are big, so they're playing to their the best they have, what they have. Like, JB Bickerstaff, that guy might win Coach of the Year without it. Like, right now, he's my Coach of the Year.
He's my Coach of the Year too. And you know, we're going to talk more about this with Nick Padone when he comes on in the second segment. But Jay, I got to ask you, I kind of mentioned that we have 3 potential all-stars on this team. I know not all 3 of them will get there, and the more likely scenario is just Jared Allen. Even Darius Garland, as good as he is playing, he may not, he may be part of like the Saturday night festivities and somehow be involved in All-Star weekend. But with all those guards that get so much attention, whether warranted or not, and how they're playing. I mean, Kyrie Irving is one of the top vote getters still, and he's played 3 or 4 games. Yes, he's a really talented player, but he shouldn't be deserved to even be voted in or be under consideration because your votes were so close to the top by the coaches.
Well, it's not just fan voting anymore, isn't it? Is it?
I don't think so. I know that's kind of going back and forth. No,
I think players vote on it and the press votes on it too, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this.
I mean, MLB and NBA with their all-star games, the fan voting, the voting system has always been like up and down on who the starters are going to be, who the, you know, starting rotations are going to be, or the, you know, the starting 9, the starting 5 in the NBA all-star game. That's always gets convoluted, but I think at times once coaches kind of get to pick the teams or however the reserves are picked now, they sometimes you look too much at who are the next guys in that voting tier instead of who are the guys that are actually having career years and all-star level seasons. One of those guys is Darius Garland. There's not many guards playing better than him in the league, or especially in the Eastern Conference. I want to know from the people watching and from you, Jay, how many all-stars should the Cavs get, and how many do you think the NBA or ultimately will get into the All-Star game in Cleveland?
Well, if they're voted in not just by fan votes, I think Garland and Allen both get in. If it's just fan votes, I think it's just going to be Allen, which would be sad because Garland is having just an amazing year. Like like I said, JD Bickerstaff, again, I could talk about him. Look at the huge jump that Garland's made. Look at the huge jump that Osman's made. You know, watch out for Darren Windler. Is it Darren Windler? The 3-point
Dylan Windler
draft. Yeah. He's coming on a little bit. Like, yeah, he's not going to dump you in 20 a game, but it gets you 2-3 threes a night to get you a spark and get the offense going. That's awesome. He's a role player right now. But who knows what he'll be next year? The way these guys are developing young players now, like, you can't give up on any of these young guys. Just let them build to what their potential is.
So what's missing from this team then? I mean, we know, like, you and I are both on the same page. Like, we should at least have 3 all-stars on this team. And I mean, I think we're pretty much in agreement that it looks like maybe one, or at least watching NBA TV, because that was the only way I was able to watch any sort of semblance of Cavs basketball games. But I won't get into that because apparently people take issue with, when you have an opinion like that and they don't want to see it all the time. When in 2021, all you have to do is just keep scrolling or unfollow or block people on Twitter. But nonetheless, I won't get into any Twitter beef on the show right now. But what's missing from this team, Jay? What are they missing to keep consistent?
Experience. That's it.
So you don't think that there's anybody that they should pick up at the All-Star break?
I mean, sure, they can go get a player. That's always good to upgrade a player, but truly missing, like, they're just missing experience. You're not going to go get a player right now because, let's just be real, they're not going to go to the championship this year. Let these young guys develop and get experience in the playoffs. They just got to get into the playoffs to get that playoff experience. Garland is an all-star right now. That guy is elite. And Mobley, watch in 2 years how good he is. Like, they just need experience.
Yeah, experience is one thing. Kind of jumping on Sports for CLE, Cleveland.com's daily sports talk show with Dave Bacon and a host of analysts and things like that throughout the week. I was on Friday and he asked me that question. So I wanted to get your thoughts, Jay. Like, what is this team kind of missing?
If you're saying just player,
yeah,
3-point shoot. I think they need another 3-point shooter.
Right. And that's kind of what I said, because the Cavs, while they are in, they're kind of flirting with that 6th spot, 5th spot, between 4th and 6th in the Eastern Conference right now. They're 15th in 3-point shooting, and they shot under 30% from 3-point range last night. Now, again, 6th game of a 6-game road trip, going out west and trying to come back towards the east as you're getting back home, but under 30% 3-point shooting. We've seen too many games like that, and you're 15th in the league. That's not going to cut it. So a wing player that can knock down the three. We've always talked about a 3-and-D player. Well, you got a wing player in Okoro who can play defense, but he can't knock down the 3-point shot consistently enough. I don't know if that guy is out there, but there's been the rumors of Karis LeVert. We saw, a lot of people kind of clamoring for Buddy Hield when the Cavs played Sacramento. He can knock down the 3. But a wing player like that, if one comes available and you're not having to give up too much, I think that's what the Cavs should look for when the trade deadline comes around. And I think that might be like February 10th or something. I think it's now before the All-Star game instead of after. So, we got plenty of time to talk about that. But
I mean, if he pulls another trade like what he did with Allen, that dude gave up nothing. I think he gave up like a Snickers bar or something to get Allen.
Yeah, and that was like a 3-team deal. I think Larry Nance Jr. ended up being part of that. But what the Cavs ended up having to give into that 3-team deal, it pales in comparison. Yeah, it pales in comparison of what type of value and what type of production we are getting Jared Allen. But nonetheless, this team is on a roll. They're 8 games over 500. They're coming home, and I'm sure the crowd is going to welcome them home in all of their home games. And the energy is going to switch over to the Cavs soon, as long as, everybody gets a chance to see them or at least listen to their games on the radio. And people out there, keep letting them know. Let them know that this team is for real. But that is going to do it for our first segment of the night. We're going to hit a quick break, and then we will be joined on the other side of the break by Nick Padone, a fellow Big Play Network member, and of course also does some podcasting and writing for BetJack Casino. So we'll talk to him about the Cavs, a little NFL and Browns as well. This is the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network.
Whether you're looking to hire new talent or start a new career, Vector Technical has you covered. Vector Technical is a 28-year-old staffing firm that has helped thousands of job seekers advance in their career with reputable partners throughout Northeastern Ohio. Vector Technical is more than just a temp agency. With an above-average hire-in rate of 1 in 4 candidates, Vector works hard to connect the right person with the right opportunity the first time. Vector Technical hires for skilled manufacturing and light industrial work and is sure to have a career that you've been looking for. To learn more, visit our website at www.vectortechnicalinc.com.
Welcome back to the Voice of the Land on the Big Play Network. And before we went to break, we were talking Cavs basketball and letting them know about the road dogs that we saw over the West Coast road trip. And right now we are proud to be joined by a fellow Big Play Network member, of course, one of the hosts and members of the Big Play Reflog Show on Monday nights at 9 p.m. on the Big Play Network, but also a Cleveland podcaster and writer along with BetJack Casino. You can also catch him on the Sports Parlor podcast, joined by Browns legend Phil Taylor each and every single week. Also working with our audio AI system, Peter Tellep. Nick Padone is on the show. Nick, thank you so much for taking some time and joining us here tonight.
What's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
Man, we're just loving life and loving Cavs basketball right now.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy thing to love, I would say, for once in the last couple of years, definitely.
So, Nick, I'll start right there with the Cavs. Just your thoughts. I mean, they go 5-1 on that road trip, and it seems like, yeah, they played against a Utah team that was hampered by injuries and COVID and things like that, and maybe not some of the better teams in the Western Conference, but they took care of business and got through a rigorous road trip for the travel that they had. What makes this team just not use or take a game like against the Warriors where they kind of get their doors blown off and it doesn't have any sort of effect on what they are actually building in that organization?
Yeah, the word I would definitely use is resiliency. And I think that all comes back to JB Bickerstaff. That's something that I've kind of been, really trying to put out there is JB deserves his fair share of love and his share of praise for the Cavaliers' success this season thus far. I love what he's able to do, and I love that he's able to rally these guys really on any given night to go out there and do their thing. And obviously they have the young star power now, which is something that's been missing. And the emergence of Darius Garland has just been phenomenal. It's something that we've all kind of been waiting for, but this year it's finally happened. Jared Allen was an absolute steal. Everybody will tell you that. And then Evan Mobley seems to be the last missing piece. So it feels like they finally have built a legitimate roster paired with the coaching staff that could get these guys ready to go and have them, quite frankly, bought in. It's refreshing to see after what we put up with throughout the entire Brown season, for sure.
And
yeah,
you look,
I totally agree with you, buddy. I was just saying, right now we both think that he's the coach of the year in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, right? Yeah, I can't think of anybody that's done a more impressive job, especially so early in the season, already surpassing the total wins of last year, and crushing what Vegas had them slotted at for the over-under. I mean, the Cavs are a legitimate team. And I know, like Kevin said, in this road trip, sure, Utah was undermanned. And then last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder, like they were down by 18 against a bad Thunder team with another really good star in Josh Giddey. But look, like you can only play who's in front of you. And they were down 18, but they stormed right back and they were able to secure the victory. So I can't be too upset about anything that I see out of these guys night in, night out, from top down. And I'm in agreement with you guys. I can't really think of a coach that I would have as coach of the year other than JB Bickerstaff. And in the same breath, I'd venture to say Kobe Altman could toss his name in there for executive of the year. I mean, the Jared Allen thing was last year. Okay. But then drafting Evan Mobley 3rd overall, Evan Mobley has been a better pro athlete than he was a college athlete. Like that's incredible. And then the work that, that Kobe and JB both in tandem have done to bring in Ricky Rubio, to bring in Rajon Rondo virtually overnight after that Rubio injury happened. These guys are all in. They understand if they beat Brooklyn tomorrow, they are 1 game out of first place in the Eastern Conference without LeBron James for the first time in my lifetime. And I'm here to buckle in and ride with it. I love this team.
I mean, look at Lauri Markkanen. There's another guy you think of that just Chicago, they weren't using him right, and he came here and found a home. So you give that another hats off to JB Bickerstaff and Kobe, man.
And that's a tradable contract too. Talk about Lauri Markkanen, Young Bull, and Colin Sexton and what they could do at this deadline if they want to go out there and grab a wing. Karis LeVert is a name that I've heard and a name that has been, just teased and out there a bunch that the Cavs are certainly interested in. But Lauri Markkanen, they were able to get that guy in here, extend him on a manageable 3-year deal. So now that if you're another team looking for a player like Lauri Markkanen, where you're going to get really good production, probably not all-star production, but really good production, you could do it for an affordable contract. So that makes all the sense in the world. And they've just done a phenomenal job over there in Independence. And it seemed like right when people started losing faith, right when there was doubt creeping into everyone's mind of how long is this rebuild going to take? How long can we stomach Kevin Love on a max contract, going out there and playing 14 games a season? Like how long until something has to give? We know Dan Gilbert isn't a guy that allows mumuch patience for these types of things, but they've absolutely aced this, guys, and I couldn't be happier as a fan of this team right now.
I mean, you mentioned one of the guys that just has taken on a whole new mentality with this team. We thought Kevin Love was trying to force his way out. That we talked a few times about that, kind of the microcosm of who Kevin Love was at that point, that Toronto play where he just tosses it in, doesn't really care, and then they knock down another 3, and the Cavs are getting beat pretty bad in that game. So Kevin Love taking on the role of a bench player, I think speaks to what this coaching staff has been able to do, because Kevin Love is in a better place and doing what he did in Minnesota, but in a bench role. And that's so vital to have coming off the bench. But Padone, you mentioned, Evan Mobley and coming in the draft, but also this team kind of just playing together. We got guys that we can talk about individually, but for the first time since LeBron, like, we have a team playing together. We're not frustrated. Yep. We're having fun during regular season basketball. We're not frustrated because they're waiting to turn on some imaginary switch in the playoffs. Yep. I mean, how refreshing is that for you watching this team, just seeing them play that way? Jay has even mentioned on the show, Padone, that he's having, a little bit more fun watching this, or has a little bit more faith in this team than with LeBron, because of those ebbs and flows of turning on or turning off that switch.
Well, it's different, right? And it's crazy because it's fun when you're watching it and you're winning it. It's like, I can't believe this, but it's almost like they're doing it so quietly, because it's like, where's the drama? Like with LeBron, you knew you were going to win, 50, 60, hell, sometimes, into the late 60, 70 game a year. Like, those runs were phenomenal, but you knew and you understood right when LeBron came back that with that came a lot of drama. It's who he is. It's guys that will constantly be on the trade block, that you'll constantly be leaking things to the, Wojs of the world, which LeBron and Woj don't have the best relationship. LeBron goes through Windy, but story for a different day. But all those things that happen with LeBron James led teams happen, but you're able to stomach it because with that you win games and you go to 4 straight finals, and it's all fine and great, but this team is so different, and it's different than any Cavs team really since 2002 when LeBron entered the league. And it reminds me a lot of the 2015 Atlanta Hawks, which ultimately lost to LeBron James. But during the regular season, it was very Cavs-esque. It was like, who wants to play these Hawks? You know, they had Kyle Korver shooting the absolute hell out of the ball. They had Jeff Teague back on that team, just a bunch of random dudes that understood their role, that bought in, and it worked. So I hope that the Cavs could find, you know, some postseason success. But listen, even if they don't, this year is a success already. And if they could make the playoffs and get these guys some valuable minutes in the playoffs, that means the world to me. Even if they get swept in the first round, even if they lose by, you know, in 5 games in the first round, look at the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns 2 years ago didn't even make the NBA playoffs. They were in that silly NBA bubble and made it through the play-in game and the tournament, but that experience got them to go to the next level with Chris Paul, where they were then able to make a legitimate NBA playoff push into the NBA Finals, where they ultimately fell short. So I think that experience is going to be so valuable for these Cavaliers in the months to come, and I think they truly will get there. So we're going to have home playoff basketball at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse again.
I'll tell you right now, no one in the East wants to play the Cavs in the playoff series because they're young, energetic, play defense, and they're big. And they're built differently than everybody. Where everyone else built to play wings and shooters, these guys are like, we're just going to dunk on you and shoot threes with Garland.
Yeah, and then even our big guys could shoot threes. So, like, try to figure that out.
When you don't know what you don't know as a young player, too. I mean, Jay, you've kind of talked about this too. You don't know what you don't know as a young player, and they are inexperienced. Neither, you know, Padone, I know you mentioned like they could get swept, but making the playoffs is vital for this team right now. Yeah. But also, by the time you get to the playoffs, you've been playing a certain way and under a certain culture that you don't know what you don't know, and like that the lights are so much brighter. You're playing basketball again. But the experience of kind of game planning for one team throughout a 7-game series could be vital for this team. I mean, Padone, do you think it's right now at this point, the goal should be to be in those top 6 seeds, or, you know, are you still thinking that maybe at some point they could still be a play-in team at the very least?
I mean, for sure. I'd like fan fearlessly, you know, aim high. Like they've battled and they've endured so much already in this season. I think that doesn't get talked about enough either, with all the guys going down with COVID. And then hell, even before that, losing Colin Sexton for the year. And nationally, people were like, all right, well, that's it for the Cavs. But it was far from it for the Cavs. So after all they've overcome thus far, where they've been without key pieces for weeks on end, Okoro, who is, you know, their heartbeat defensively, was hurt with an elbow injury, just now coming back. Yeah, I think you got a gun for a top 6 seed. Screw the play-in like tournament and the play-in games. Like, let's just make these playoffs straight up and get these guys a surefire first round playoff matchup that they could prep for. Let's go for it, man. Forget the play-in.
I honestly God think they can make top 4, possibly top 3 team.
I mean, like, hey, if they win,
not that hard. They're like you said, you're a game out of first.
Yeah,
and they got an easy. Not the West. There's a huge difference. What Durant just went down, he's out 3 to 4 weeks or something. Like, we've dealt with our injuries and, like you said, overcame them, and it's going to make us even better for that.
For sure. Yeah, it's been a sight to behold, guys. For sure.
Yeah, it's so fun to just be able to talk basketball and have fun. Whether you can see the games or not, and you have to turn on your radio to listen to them. Like, I'll go to an old school transistor radio just to listen to these games and turn them on, because even that, it keeps your attention and you're just having so much fun with it. And they're truly taking on that dog mentality that they talk about, that the other team in town that we hoped would still be playing right now and kind of had maybe a story similar to the Cincinnati Bengals or some of these other squads in Super Wild Card Weekend. Nick Padone is our guest from Big Play and BetJack Casino. Padone, switching gears a little bit, we're going to have plenty of time to talk about what the Browns need to do. And do you go after this guy? Should they be talking about Baker coming back? I won't bore you with all that because I know you guys are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. We have plenty of time to get back together at some other time to talk about these things before the Browns play another football game. But this weekend,
we're not going to talk about which quarterback is going to play for? Oh
boy, you
Just
just
messing with you
had
guys.
to go there, Jay. You just had to try to chime in.
no Baker Wars this week. Oh man,
You know we don't get into that on this show,
I know, I'm just messing
man.
with you guys.
It's dangerous out there, man. It's
It
dangerous
is
out
dangerous.
there.
You better
There's
bring a
people
helmet
that
if you're going.
yeah, there's people out there that want Joe Flacco as like I've seen the craziest things.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not on Twitter that much. Like surprisingly, I tweet, get my jabs in and get the hell out. Like it gets toxic when you start reading your own replies and like reading things under what the teams tweet. Like that's when it gets insane and it gets hectic, especially like, Twitter is so good and it's so advanced now as a platform that you could filter who you see when they mention you. If I follow you, I'll get the notification when you tweet at me. But if I don't follow you and I don't like your content and engage with what you're putting out there, you're just another voice in the bottom of my reply. So yeah, Baker Wars are absolutely crazy though. You can't say one thing one way or another without it. It's like politics. Chris McNeil always makes the joke on the Big Play Reflog. Like you look all the way down on one side, it's like, well, that's crazy. And then you look all the way down on the other side, it's like, well, that's even more crazy. So I don't know which way to go. Baker Mayfield, as we sit here on Sunday, January 16th at 7:31 p.m. Eastern time, is the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Jimmy Garoppolo is trying to give away an NFC wildcard game on CBS in primetime right now. So I don't know what people want to do with this quarterback position, man. It's going to be a long off season in Berea, as it always is.
Well, thank God we got the Cavs, but yeah.
Yeah, thank God for the Cavs. APJ, you just said it. He's talking too much sense. It's, you got the craziness one extreme or the other, but once you start talking sense and realistically, boy, that's the person that everybody goes after. Both sides of the the craziness. That's when they come together because they go after the people that are actually realistic because you're speaking truth and they don't want to hear it. But
here's my thing, man. So you got people in the Baker Wars. Like if we really want to talk about this, here's where it falls. And this is the truth. Whether people want to hear it or whether
I want to hear this now.
So you got people on Twitter that will literally write poems for the guy. They're in love with the guy. They would rather ride with 6 over Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. 6 is their guy. That's one side. And the other side, you have people that would rather have, Drew Lock, Trubisky, Flacco. They think Baker is one of the worst busts in NFL history. The truth lies somewhere in the middle, as it always does. The truth is somewhere in the middle. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers. Okay, we know that to be a fact. What we also know for a fact is right now at this current juncture, when healthy, he is better than Joe Flacco, than Drew Lock, than some of these random Teddy Bridgewater names that get thrown out there. So the middle is where Baker Mayfield lies. And I think that's hard for people to stomach, especially in the year 2022, where every argument, every debate about everything needs to be so polarizing, so extreme, so over the top that we get lost that it doesn't have to be, black and white. There's gray area in the middle.
Star Wars nerds, absolutes are for Sith Lords, man.
I mean, I think it was even Paul Feinbaum on local talk radio called Baker, I don't know, he made like some
poor man Johnny Manziel or something.
like,
I saw that.
Right.
Like Paul Feinbaum, you of all people, who is a respected, personality and journalist, and you've worked so hard for the reputation that you have. You're gonna go out there and just start saying outlandish stuff to get a raise.
Just heard this is the first time I'm hearing this. I gotta react, and Kevin knows how I feel. Johnny Manziel, did he try his hardest when he was here? Absolutely not. Get off my team. Now,
Billy
Baker,
Manziel tried harder than
hardest.
Johnny. Billy tried harder than Johnny.
True. As long as you try your hardest and you're on my team, I'm going to root for you no matter what. Just try your hardest. I'll criticize you or whatever, but I'm still going to root for you. I'm not going to boo you. You're on my team. I don't believe going at people and being just straight hateful helps at all. And nor do I have any control of the roster. So what the hell does it matter? I just do my job as a fan and just fan. Like people, like they think they have the control of the roster sometimes. I think.
Once the team actually buys into the fans having control, they start sitting with them. So that's the common cliche in sports, and cliches are so prevalent in sports because they are so true. Nick Padone is our guest, and Padone, we appreciate you joining us. I know you're watching NFL playoff football, so we'll get you out of here on this. From what you've seen so far in Super Wildcard Weekend and just throughout the NFL season, who is that team to watch to make the run this year?
I don't know, guys. Like, I sit here and I watch these games. I'm just so bummed out because, like you guys, I'm a Browns fan. I love football. I realize that in a couple months here, March, even after the draft, June, I'm gonna be sitting around watching the Guardians play at 3:00, saying, "Oh my God, I wish I had some football." Like, this sucks. So I'm trying to enjoy it the best I can, but it hurts my heart that the Browns aren't it. With that said, I think I really like, the more things change, the more things stay the same. So for that, with that being said, I like Tom Brady. I like Aaron Rodgers. They are, the two best quarterbacks with two of the best coaches. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens tonight with Kansas City and Pittsburgh. A lot of sharps kind of like Pittsburgh plus 12 in that game. So kind of have Pittsburgh covering and making that a little bit closer of a game than what people are anticipating as we get closer and closer to kick off there. But for me, I'm looking at the old heads, man. I'm looking at Rodgers. I'm looking at Tom. My Super Bowl prediction, I guess if I had to make one, I'm going to ride with the Packers over the Chiefs. I think they're just the two best teams, and the Packers are the best team because they have the best quarterback. But yeah, it sucks. It's tough. I hate watching Cincinnati in the playoffs. All week long, I made myself, for some reason, buy into the Raiders and Rich Bisaccia, who I was calling Coach Cannoli. And I made, all kinds of Italian memes and graphics, and like, he lost and now the Bengals are still. So I don't know. I do this to myself, and now I'm going to pull for the Chiefs tonight. Like an irrational fan. I don't care about the Chiefs. Who cares about the Chiefs? I just don't want to see Pittsburgh in, but it sucks.
Oh, it definitely sucks. I mean, it's hard for me to even get into NFL off-season rumors, mock drafts. Like,
if it wasn't for the Nickelodeon cast, I probably wouldn't be watching any football today. I just like watching these guys get slimed.
Yeah, for real. Are we going after Kirk Cousins, or are we going after Derek Carr?
You're a smart guy. Do analytics people pick up old people that cost a lot of money?
I think you just gave yourself the answer there, man.
No, they don't.
That would also cost you potential first round picks.
Oh yeah,
guys are
going to give up first round picks, pay a bunch of money for old guys. Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, guys, we got so much time, too much time for all of these and other names to appear in the conversation too before we kick off in September of 2022. But
it's only January.
Oh God, it's only January. Oh boy. All right. Well, Padone, we do appreciate you taking some time and joining us tonight. You guys can make sure to follow him on Twitter at Nick Padone12, as you saw in his name the whole time. You can catch him on the Big Play Network on the Big Play Reflog show Mondays at 9. And of course, during the week, he will post the Sports Parlor podcast with Phil Taylor. Thank you so much, Nick, for coming on. We'll have to get you back on once sports betting is actually fully legal in Ohio, and you can kind of educate us because we have no idea what we're talking about with that.
Hey man, I'll say this. BetJack, the people over there, they've been kind enough to bring me in, really teach me a ton, let me create all kinds of content. It's been an absolute blast. And I'll tell you guys this, in the next couple of weeks, they've got something even before sports betting is officially there, right? Because we're legal, but they can't officially accept bets. There's going to be some fun stuff in the pipeline. So I'd love to come back on here in a couple of weeks, give you guys the lowdown about it, and get us all in and educate and have some fun together on these books, make their pockets hurt a little bit.
All you got to do is connect with our AI system audio. Peter, tell it back there. Just join the same Zoom link. He'll pop you in anytime you need to promote. You got a spot right here on the Voice of the Land, buddy.
Perfect. It'll be a lot of fun. See you guys.
Thank you so much, Nick, and have a good one. Enjoy the rest of NFL football. That was Nick Padone from Big Play and BetJack Casino. We got to hit a break because we are way late for our second break of the night. We have to get our sponsorships in and information on where you can get that Voice of Land gear. This is the Voice of Land on the Big Play Network.
Are you struggling to hire the right talent or maybe even find the right career? Vector Technical makes it easy. Since 1992, Vector has provided Ohio employers with a reliable process for hiring and have helped thousands of job seekers advance in their careers. Vector Technical is more than just a temp agency. We invest time to get to know each client and candidate personally. Vector places people in job opportunities that they are truly excited about. Interested in learning more? Visit our website at www.vectortechnicalinc.com to see a full list of our current job opportunities and to find out what Vector Technical can offer you.
Get your gear at voiceoftheland.com/shop.
Welcome back to the Voice of Land here on the Big Play Network. We are live every Sunday night at 7 o'clock, where now the conversations open up to all sports around the sports landscape, I guess you could say, because we are temporarily no longer the Browns postgame show because there's no Browns games going on. So we are just back to being the regular Voice of Land that you guys have known and loved for the last 3 years. Kevin Arnold alongside Always Positive Jay and audio Peter Tellep, our producer extraordinaire. And I could have talked to Nick Bedone. We thank him for coming on for sure. And I could have talked to him a lot longer. We had to catch a break. Sponsorships, you gotta pay that. You gotta pay up when you get those sponsorships. So we appreciate all of our sponsors as well, Vector Technical and DP Construction LLC. But Jay, not going to talk about the Brown stuff. The NFL. This week, we kind of posted our poll of the week, and I don't do a great job of actually getting back to and talking about the results. But we kind of asked people how much, because you and I talked about it, Peter. We talked about it a little bit too about like how much we're actually going to watch. Because I just said it. I can't even get into mock drafts like I used to because that's not what the Browns are supposed to be. This offseason is not supposed to be old Browns and mock drafts are the talk from October all the way till April or whatever. No, I'm not going to go on a rant right now. That'll save for another day. But
I'm still addicted to mock drafts. I can't help it.
And
we could have won the Super Bowl, and I'm still addicted to mock drafts. I love the draft. My favorite thing about the draft is just the reactions of kids getting their dream jobs. But I like to just try to predict who we're going to get.
Right, and I'm going to watch the draft.
I get your point. We're not looking for like we need this guy to come save our team anymore. I don't know. I love mock drafts. I just can't help it.
And even last year,
I'm addicted to mock drafts.
Even last year, I felt good looking at mock drafts because the Browns were all the way down at 26. But we made the playoffs and we felt like we were taking the steps to be a consistent winner. And now this year, it feels empty to me. And I haven't really looked at any mock drafts, and I probably won't until February. We'll talk about that down the line once we get through Combine and all of that. Again, as Padone and Jay and myself just said, we got plenty of time to talk Browns off season. I'm doing what Padone's doing. I'm posting stuff on Twitter, and I'm getting off because I can't get into the toxicity of Twitter right now. But when we did post on Twitter as the show page at VTL_pod, asked how much of the NFL playoffs will you watch? And we had options of every game, a few games, just the big game, because you can't say the other words, even though it'll probably slip many times from now until that game happens. And the last option was none. 54% of the vote went to a few games, which I know that's where you voted, Jay.
Correct.
35% said every game. 8% said none. Only 3%, which may just be me, I don't know, said just the big game. We did get a reply from @Tracy Vegas on Twitter saying, I'll have the games on TV, but won't sit and watch the games. Too boring. I have things to do. I may have them on Sirius XM when I'm out at the pool in the afternoon just to keep up because they're, of course, out in Vegas. So they're enjoying warmer weather than what we have as the snow has started to fall here in Northeast Ohio, as I was just informed in our break. But Jay, how interested are you, and are you actually rooting for a team?
I don't root for any more teams. I used to when I was younger. I usually like players now, and it's kind of deals with fantasy, or former Buckeye players or former guys from Ohio. As long as Pittsburgh loses, I'm good, I guess. Just get Pittsburgh out of there and I'm happy. Like, I can't stand when the Ravens and the Pittsburgh are making playoff runs. That's like torture to me. And watching wise, like, I got the game on right there. I probably watched a total of 5 minutes of it, paying attention. Just not getting into it this year. Like you said, I was ready for my own massive playoff run. This is supposed to be the season for Stan, as I quoted before, and it didn't happen. And like Nick said, we're all just so highly disappointed Browns fans.
I mean, I'm more into the European side of football than I am American football right now, which, I mean, I'm always going to be more so than anybody else because you guys know I'm the soccer fan. And we'll talk on the other side of our next break. We may have to do like one of our extra clips this week. We may have to go do an extra 10-minute segment once we get off the live show tonight for the deeper conversation we wanted to have. But quickly, Peter, I mean, how much of these games have you watched? And is there anybody you're rooting for? Are you one of those people that just because you're from Ohio, you're rooting for Joe Burrow and the Bengals?
Well, here's the thing is I not really rooting for anyone in particular. I'm rooting against the Steelers because I want to see them lose. You know, the bad part about that is I'm not a big fan of the Chiefs either, but, you know, I watched a little bit of the Tampa Bay game. I was, you know, I don't know. I kind of kept an eye on the games, but not really rooting for anyone. The problem I have with the Bengals is, yeah, they're an Ohio team. I like Joe Burrow. He was an Ohio State guy. He went to LSU. You know, he had great success. It sucks that he came into our division and that he went to the team down there. You know, I think he's a good quarterback. You know, do I want to see him have success? Yes. Do I want to see the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl before the Browns? No. So, you know, I'll watch.
I don't want that dude to have any success whatsoever.
Well,
and it's weird because I always root for Ohio, like guys from Ohio, and it's my. And I always say because I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a long, long, long time, and he's going to torture us for years to come. And yeah, if he wasn't in my division, I'd root for him, honest to God. But
that's a fair point.
Like the Bengals, they're in my division. I don't want them to gain more experience winning more playoff games and stuff than us. I want them to suck. I'm tired of being in the division with all the really good teams.
I will say that I was shocked that they actually won only because, you know, how many times did Andy Dalton get the Bengals into the playoffs just to lose in the first round every year? I mean, I had friends that were Bengals fans and, you know, they'd be like, oh, we're in the playoffs. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to lose. I'm like, you're not going to get past the first round, so it doesn't matter. And they would. And, yeah, I mean, I'm not rooting for anyone. I'll watch, you know, the superb owl. And, you know, I'll probably, you know, depending on the teams in it, if it's a good game, I'll watch it for the football aspect of the game. But a lot of times it seems like the Super Bowls I watch them for the commercials because those tend to be the most entertaining part
and
of a
even
lot of
those
Super
have dropped
Bowls.
off, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, because they put them all out on. You can see them all on YouTube. They, you know, they spend all that money to produce the commercials, and they're like, you know, we're gonna just splatter this stuff everywhere. So it kind of loses that kind of fun of like, oh, there's a really good, funny commercial that you haven't seen before, and that's the only day that I'll actually watch commercials. So,
yeah, it's the only day that keeps you engaged in commercials. So, but it was well done with not with saying the words without saying the words, Peter. That was very well said. I mean, you guys know I haven't watched any football. I mean, just going on, you know, because I was working down at the Browns home games and stuff, so didn't have many weekends open to spend with the fiance. So we had a date day today. We went to Dave and Buster's after picking up her dress to have it, you know, have it altered and stuff from her mom. We went to Dave and Buster's down closer to there, and just because the TVs were on and it was in my peripherals, that's the most football I've watched this weekend, and probably the most I'll watch until that big game. I mean, there's nobody I'm rooting for. I think we may need to have a little extra conversation once the show is done about rooting for rivals and things like that. Because I know we've been talking about wanting to talk about that, and Jay was about to bring us into it, and a lot of good conversation there. So we will table that conversation and get into that after the show. But we do need to hit our last break of the night, and then we are going to talk soccer. So I know that any viewers that we have right now or anybody listening, I know you may speed through it if you're not a soccer fan. There's a lot of people that aren't, but we are so proud. Well,
and I'm going to learn. I'm not saying I'm not against it. I'm not a fan of it because I know nothing of soccer. I never played it. I watched maybe 10 minutes of soccer in my entire life. So along with you guys, I'm learning the game.
Yeah. So we're going to teach Jay on the other side of the break a little bit about soccer. If you want to, kind of just tune in for the maybe hilarity that may ensue with it, tune in on the other side of the break. This is the Voice of Land on the Big Play Network.
Are you looking for a career in manufacturing? Vector Technical has you covered. Vector Technical is a 28-year-old staffing firm that has partnered with some of the biggest and the best companies throughout Northeastern Ohio. The recruiters at Vector Technical will coach you through the entire job process and will help you land an opportunity that you are truly excited about. Vector does not add any additional fees and offers benefits as well as free online skills training through Penn Foster. To learn more, visit www.vectortechnicalinc.com and make sure to check out our job board to see a full list of our current opportunities and apply.
Welcome back one final time to the Voice of Land this evening. This is the Voice of Land on the Big Play Network. Kevin Arnold alongside always positive Jay and Peter Tellup. I did misstep in what I said about football before the break and how much I've watched in American football terms. Came home and I did watch a great game between the guards and the inmates. Paul Crew was able to lead his team back after being asked to throw the game. And one heck of a finish to that one, him scoring the 2-point conversion. They just risking it all. And boy, it came down to the last play, 36-35 inmates. So
never doubt the mean machine.
Never doubt mean machine. That's for sure. That's how I'm watching American football is through movies, not actual live action and games that are going on. I have no idea who's even winning the Dallas and San Francisco game.
We have a huge game on next game. I'm going to be watching the Book of Boba Fett tonight. Like, I'm not watching the Steelers play.
I've been watching that. We got to catch up on the latest episode. I
watched them all. I'm rewatching them with Tiffany so she can catch up.
Yeah, I like it. It's just it's a little bit different because it's almost like it almost feels like an origin story while they're continuing his story, him coming out of the Sarlacc pit, but
mixed into like a Western.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see where it goes, not to give any spoilers, but we are proud to partner with the Cleveland Crunch, who are in their second season since returning to Major Arena Soccer last season. They won the MASL2 championship, giving them 4 league championships in program history. Of course, they played from 1989 to 2002 with guys like Hector Marinero and Otto Orff. Now you get guys like Mikey Derizic, Admir Suljevic, Mario Musa, Sammy Mutemwa, Dave Jordan, the captain. I could go down the list of the entire roster. I am proud to be given the opportunity to be the voice of the Crunch, a team that I grew up watching, a team that I grew up going to their soccer camps. That was the sports that I was the most involved with, was soccer through the Cleveland Crunch. We could afford the camps. We could afford going to those games down at the old Convocation Center on Cleveland State's campus. And it drew me into sports, and it drew me into soccer in particular. So to have that kind of come full circle into my journey towards becoming a member of the sports media, sports broadcasting industry is just, it means a lot to me. And I can't thank Eric Davis and Luciano Rashido and the entire Crunch organization enough. And we are proud to be the official sponsor of the Crunch post-game shows. And we will have kind of interviews coming up with them on this show, but also we're going to have the man of the match every single night coming up to our platform above the field to join us and talk about the game after as well. So interviews coming soon to our broadcast. That is done by Peter Tellup and his LPV Productions crew, and putting on a great professional broadcast. And I think that's the best compliment we get about this show and anything that we do for high school sports with CBC and Cleveland Crunch is it's professional. That's probably, Peter, I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's like the best compliment you can get.
It's a great compliment. It's funny because every time we do something or add something to one of the shows or productions, I always want to do more. So I'm always trying to strive to add more things. We're looking at doing a couple more things with the Crunch because we have the next game coming up this Saturday. So we might try and get a replay in there. Hopefully we'll get the clock working. That was a little issue with the internet at the venue. But I talked to the guys there and we got that, I think, straightened out. And we may try to sneak a small camera in the corner of the near goal. So we might be able to try and get some goal, a goal camera going on. So we'll see if we can get that going. So like I said, every time we do it, we try to add more, try to make things more dynamic. We did that with football for the CVC last year, added replay, and a couple extra things. So should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. We've got a busy couple of weeks ahead of us.
Busy couple of weeks for sure. So we got high school basketball restarting with CVC. So stay tuned for all that. Make sure that you are following or subscribing to not only our YouTube channel, Voice of the Land Podcast, but Cleveland Crunch YouTube channel as well, because that's where the games will live stream. And our very own Always Positive Jay is going to get his first soccer experience next week. As we said, he's going to kind of come out, watch the game, may come up to the, where we're broadcasting the game, check out things from behind the scenes and start to learn the game of soccer and start with the indoor game before I kind of teach him the outdoor game. Jay, I gotta know. Yeah, I was gonna say, what are your questions?
What are the
here's the time.
The obvious being indoor and outdoor. What are the huge differences between the games?
Between indoor and outdoor?
Yeah.
Well, so of course, field size is going to be one. The main difference that you're going to see next week is, when you watch an outdoor game, you got the 4 lines. In the indoor game, it's kind of more shaped like an oval field with walls, and the walls are in play. If it hits any sort of netting above the walls, just like in hockey.
I was going to say like hockey arena then?
Correct. Yeah. So the walls are in play and you can use those to your advantage, or maybe it happens to your disadvantage if you can't defend along the boards as much.
So if I'm running down the field and there's a guy in front of me, I could kick it off the wall, run around him the other way, and that's pretty cool, actually. That's
the indoor game that I grew up playing. So like if you were a soccer player, and I try to play as many different sports as I could, and our coaches did a great job, and I've kind of taken that into my coaching stuff as well to promote playing different sports and having different conditioning, getting involved in different things just to whether test them out or just be more well-rounded. But, if there was time, I would also play indoor to kind of keep chemistry with my high school teammates and everything. And even when I was playing, all of these facilities had the walls. When I went to Lost Nation, there's one out here in Lake County in Menor at the Heisley Racket Club. There's an indoor soccer facility in the back over there that a lot of kids go to. They still have the boards actually over there. But most places like Force or Lost Nation or a lot of these other places you'll see, they've gone to that outdoor field turf you see in high school stadiums. It's cut a little bit shorter, but there's basically just nets that kind of divide the field. And it's just a smaller version of the outdoor game, but you're playing the outdoor game. You're still throwing in, you still, it's all of those kind of elements. Cleveland Crunch and indoor arena soccer is what it should be. Yes, the walls are dangerous when you get, kind of pushed into them and things like that, but there's dangers in all sports with injuries. It is so fun to like what you just said, Jay, to kick the ball around a player, kind of run the other way. Even like when you get down close to the goal, you can use the back walls and try to pass it off. So it kind of gives a different angle and a different pace on the pass to someone running towards the goal. And you get a lot more power
I'm doing
behind
all these
it.
plays I used to do in my head in the game Rocket League, where I'd shoot it off the wall to make it bounce back at me so I could kick it again really hard, or shoot it with my car actually. But in soccer, I'm actually looking really. I'm really looking forward to going to watch this because there's a lot more scoring in indoor than there is outdoor too, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the game last night, we'll do a little review of the game last night. The Crunch go to 2-0 on the season. Home opener last night, a beautiful ceremony to one last time celebrating the championship. And then as Coach Louis Kostelik said last night, they're on to this year. That was the last time they're going to talk about last year. They're on to this year, taking a game at a time. Their aspirations aren't putting that fifth star above the crest. And the crest is basically just the team symbol on the jersey or on other paraphernalia for the team. And then when you have your stars above the crest, that means how many championships you've won as a club or as a nation. Like the U.S. women's national team over their crest for USA, it looks the same as the men's, but they have 4 stars over the top. They've won 4 World Cups. Men haven't come anywhere close. That's because the women get developed a lot better than men. Conversation for another day. But the Crunch win last night against Muskegon Risers from the state up north, 10-5. It was a rematch from the week before when they won 8-5 on the road. Mikey Derzic made his debut. The Crunch were up 4-0 before like people really knew what was going on. Actually 3-0 in the first 2 minutes, and it just hit so quick, one after the other. Mikey had 3 of the 4, and I think it was Rylan Weichel who had the 4th. And then they're up 7-1 at the end of half. Second half got a little chippy per se. Guys were getting sent over to the bench, sent into the penalty box. There's really no penalty box for it, but guys do have to sit out for blue cards and yellow cards, and they can't come back into play. There are man advantages. So there's power plays, there's penalty kills, just like in hockey, the way to describe that. And it was just a great atmosphere last night at the Sportsplex in North Olmsted where the Crunch play. If you guys want to get tickets, make sure you guys head over to the Crunch, clevelandcrunch.com. You can get the tickets there. If you can't, subscribe to the Cleveland Crunch YouTube channel, and that's where you're going to catch the live streams of all of 6 of their home games. But Jay, I mean, it was just,
I just
Peter can even speak to it too. Like it was just up and down, up and down.
Just said, because I was going to bring up like, there's so much more scoring for me when I watch like European soccer. I get kind of like bored because it can go 1-0 and you feel like you watch something for 2 hours. Like it was just back and forth. Where if you want to bring kids to a game, indoors where you want to go, because there's just like, it just seems like so much more action, more scoring. It would get
very
keep their attention. Yeah, it'd keep their attention better than if you were to take them to like a regular soccer game, I think.
Yeah, it's fast paced, high scoring. If you want to come see the Crunch, buy tickets, get there early so you can get a seat, because last night it was packed.
It was standing room only.
Yeah, it was standing room only. It was crazy. But yeah, it's definitely like a high intensity game. It's a lot of fun to watch. And yeah, I would say, Kevin's analogies to hockey, it's a lot like hockey, not as many checks into the walls as hockey. And it looked like there was a little bit of flopping by that team up north in some plays there, but it's not nearly as bad as what you see on some of the outdoor soccer, highlights of the guys brushes past him and he falls over and grabs his head like he just got hit with a bat. So it's a lot of fun.
Way to show that Homer broadcast mentality there with the flops by the other team. I mean, if I'm going to look at it objectively, which I don't have to, because I'm the home team's broadcast. I'm the Cleveland Crunch play-by-play man. So I don't have to, but if I'm going to, because that's what we promote on this show for some odd reason. I don't know who started that, but some guy. But there was back and forth, and it slowed down a little bit once, kind of the officiating and players kind of got into a little bit. There was back and forth. A lot of teams have played 2 times in a row. So, there was a lot of built up frustration. Risers just weren't able to do much with it. But I mean, the Crunch, they hit you quick. And that defense is stellar with Dave Jordan, the captain, Bobby Chanchar in the back to start things out. And then you're rotating in Chris Zevko and, all these different guys that are rotating back there. Kevin Blackwood will play back there. But what's brilliant about it is, it's such a small field and so few guys out there. It's 6v6. that you have to know every position for the most part when you're out there, just like coaches teach in 11 on 11 in outdoor soccer. You really got to know every position because it's so interchangeable and everybody's involved in every single kind of play. So Crunch are just building on the momentum from last year and building on that chemistry. And Jay, get ready because it's going to be a fun time. And if you got any questions during the week, you know where to reach out to.
Now, are the games the same length as a typical normal soccer game?
No, so typical outdoor games at the professional ranks are 90 minutes and they have 2 halves. Here it's quarters. So they have 4 quarters and they're 15 minutes each. So it's an hour of game clock time. Could take, maybe 2.5 hours to get through depending on officiating and things like that. But no, it doesn't feel like the 2.5 hours or, I know to the average sports fan, I understand why they get bored with the outdoor soccer game. I'm taking in all the nuances, even missed shots on goal, saves by the goalkeepers, the little nifty passes that guys make, like all the nuances of that sport that I know everybody gets into with football and basketball, the main ones here in America. That's what makes soccer so exciting to me. What adds to the excitement enables me to watch it so much, whether outdoor or indoor. So we'll get you started. The Crunch is a good way to start getting into whether becoming a fan or not, Jay, at least understanding the game of soccer. Cleveland Crunch
I
is
think
a perfect
going
place.
to game live helps a lot too.
Absolutely.
Because I grew up a hockey fan, and a lot of people don't like to watch hockey for the same reason. It could be 3-1, 1-2. Like it could be a real slow paced game, like not a whole lot of scoring. There's a lot of action, just not a lot of scoring. But when you go to the game, it's just different. It's so much different. You see, like you said, all the little nuances, the things that you don't see on the screen. Like when I go to a Browns game and I get that I'm up high, I can see the whole field where you can't see it on TV. It just, I'm looking forward to the live experience of a soccer game, indoor soccer game.
And
dude, the Crunch. Let's just be real. Before we got our championship from Stipe and LeBron, forever like, oh, Cleveland never won anything. We always say, hey man, the Crunch is the best, man. Like, we always had the Crunch to fall back on.
Yeah, they did win professional championships, so it's they were the team to kind of keep the sports prevalent here in Cleveland, or at least championship mentality prevalent here in Cleveland. And
don't forget our monsters.
Oh yes, the Calder Cup by the Monsters.
So.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So the Cavs are always recognized, but there was more before that.
How good they used to be and how good they are now, because I never watched a single game. I know who Hector Marinara is. I know I believe he was the all-time leading scorer, wasn't he?
Yes.
I don't know if it's changed since then, but
no, I don't.
I never watched a soccer game. I knew this because that's how good they were. They really are a traditional team for indoor soccer.
Some people may not even know that when the Crunch when new ownership took over in the last 2 years that they were here, 2002 to 2004, they went back to the old name of Arena Soccer of the Cleveland Force. And he was a player, but also an assistant coach. So a player coach aspect there. So don't worry, Jay.
Well, you know why they had to change the Force, right?
Why?
Isn't it the Star Wars copyright stuff, if I'm correct?
Oh yeah, something like that. I mean, there's always going to be.
I think I heard Riz talking about on RBS that they used to have like Star Wars nights there and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, when you're using your name that kind of coincides with something like that, and you don't necessarily have all of the proper things legally in place, people are gonna find out. So it is what it is. But they are the Cleveland Crunch again, and we are so happy to have him back. And don't worry, Jay. Eric and Lucci already said you will be well taken care of. You are a part of the crew as much as anybody else because we are so happy and proud to partner with the Cleveland Crunch. But that is going to do it for tonight's show. Next week, we will have a member of the Crunch coming on after the game on Saturday. They'll be on Sunday night. We will figure out who that will be and announce that later in the week. And looking forward to that and talking more Cavs basketball. Maybe we'll have some information on All-Star and, maybe some Guardians baseball because that's how much I don't want to have to even start talking Browns off season yet. I know people want us to, and we will, but I don't want to. So we will
hold
figure
off
out
on the mock drafts for a while, Kevin.
We'll figure out. We'll allow the week to dictate what we talk about next week. But we will welcome one of the members of the Crunch next week to talk more soccer, as we will promote that throughout the year. But for our AI system audio, better known as our producer extraordinaire Peter Tellep, and my brother, always positive Jay, I'm Kevin Arnold, reminding all of you, don't let anyone ever tell you it's just a game. And we love you all. 3000. Have a wonderful night. Be safe out there with the snow. And we will see you all next week.